Yes, thanks, Nirav, and good afternoon to all the participants, and thanks for joining in. So we have today with us Mr. Sumit Dev, Chairman and Managing Director of NMDC, and Mr. Amitav Mukherjee, Director of Finance of NMDC. So without further ado, I hand it over to management for the opening remarks. Over to you, Mr. Dev.
Yes. Thank you, Abhijit, and good afternoon, everyone. NMDC has announced its Q1 results. Our production has been affected because of the COVID pandemic. In April and May, severely affected. Production has been down by 22%. Sales also down by 28%. In fact, affected our revenue and profitability as well, as can be seen. However, going forward, we feel that things are much better. Price realizations are much better, and we had done some correction in the prices in the month of April and May. In fact, we have recouped some of them, and we believe that things are steel prices going up and the markets looking up. Production catching up in the steel segment. So we believe that things will be, the prices will improve and should be much better. The other thing is, we have also looked at the steel business, the Nagarnar steel plant, which is coming up. And however, a decision has been taken that in principle that the company needs to be demerged into a separate entity, with a mirror shareholding, which is already existing in NMDC. So that's about the demerger of Nagarnar steel plant from NMDC. Looking forward, production definitely we hope that in fact June, July productions have improved, and August also similarly, except for the weather conditions where monsoons have been bad. So except for that, I think things should pick up. And production, we hope to achieve at least last year's figure we will be doing about production and sales. The markets look good, in fact, and hopefully we should be able to hit the revenues targets which we have already projected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1. First question is from the line of Vishal Chandak from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, sir. So my first question was with respect to the demerger of of NMDC. So what are the steps going forward to conclude the process, and what are the timelines?
The demerger process, this is just an in-principle approval of the board. The demerger process takes somewhere around 8 to 9 months. The appointment of the TALA and AB, and all that is being done in consultation with DIPAM. So it should take the timeline should be somewhere around 8 to 9 months.
Okay. And so secondly, when you're looking at the steel market currently, the steel prices have moved up, production has moved up. So do you plan to achieve only last year's number, or you still would like to have a better outlay on this year's target?
In fact, we would like to, that's the minimum, that is what we are looking at. But once we have our Donimalai mines also coming up probably, so then we can, the target, we hope to increase volume from 30 to whatever we have projected.
Okay, because I was just coming on to what would be the status on the Donimalai mines?
We are in discussion with the state government, and Ministry of Steel also, and hopefully, let us see, we will be able to finalize the thing after discussion with the state government. So ultimately, it is the state government who has to decide on the extension of the lease agreement.
Okay. I have few more questions. I'll get back in the queue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A request to all the participants, please restrict to 2 questions per participant. If time permits, please come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. Next question is from Amit Dixit from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. The first one is again with respect to the Deemer Steel Company. I just wanted to understand your further plans. Are you going to list it separately? If so, what are the timelines that you are looking at? And is a sale also on cards, essentially? That is my first question.
All the options are open right now. Right now, the priority is to demerge the entity and then look at various options with regard to the steel plant. And the basic thing is that our first priority is to ensure that the steel plant is commissioned as early as possible, and then look at the various options available.
Okay. Thank you. The second question is, what is the status of completion of the steel plant? Can you please let us know the CWIP currently, and what is the pending capex and the timelines thereof?
The pending capex should be around some 3,500 to 4,000 crores.
No, it's around 4,000 crores, including
4,000 crores.
Around that, but that would be including the expected price variation clauses if they are applied. Without the price variation clauses, it will be around 3,000 crores. But if we are provisioning another 1,000 crores for price variation clauses, which we do not know whether there will be payouts or not, but including 1,000 crores for price variation, it is another 4,000 crores to go.
So like Director Finance has put it, it's around 4,000 crores. So, and the likely date of commissioning is somewhere next year. We are trying to complete, and as far as early as possible.
Sir, there were two specific packages related to RMHS and the byproduct plant that were not complete. And so I just wanted to understand the specific status, if you can offer in detail. And also I wanted to know the CWIP currently.
So as far as CWIP,
15,000.
DF Finance,
something, 17,000 crores.
Yeah. And as far as the BHA, the RMHS package and the byproduct plant, the RMHS package is progressing very well. BHEL is a implementing partner, so they have put in the necessary, the workforce, and it is on target to be completed as per schedule. The byproduct plant, so we have faced some issues mainly because of this migrant labor issue, which is yet to be resolved. But then we hope that it will be also completed at the earliest.
Okay, sir, thanks. I have a couple of more questions, but I will come back in the queue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Atit Bansal from Nippon India Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Sir, wanted to check on this. We also had a slurry pipeline, right, project. So can you update the status on that project also?
The slurry pipeline, that's our steel plant. So that part is what we are doing immediately in the first phase, along with the beneficiation and the beneficiation plant, and the pellet plant. So that's in the first phase of our project, and we have already tendered out the packages. Some of them have been finalized. The main packages we are yet to finalize. So that's the status. At this time, we are on the tendering stage right now.
So we are still at the tendering stage. So will it be operational or ready by the time the plant is ready? Because we need some kind of environmental clearances also, if I'm not wrong.
So all that is more or less complete. I mean, most of it is done for the slurry pipeline. Only thing is what remains is I mean, there is some little bit of hiccup. So issue. As far as environment clearance is there, it is not a major issue. So that part is there. It will not be a major hindrance. I mean, clearances are not a major issue.
But you are confident of implementing that from awarding the tender and completing that project within the next 1 year?
No. The slurry pipeline and its packages will take the whole thing will get commissioned only in FY 23. Yes.
Okay, fine, fair enough. That's it from my side. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Bhavin Chheda from Enam. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Just a continuation of questions on the steel demerger. So can you update what would be the iron ore mines arrangement for this steel company? Would it be separately demerged into a new company, or NMDC existing company would be supplying iron ore to the steel plant when that company is demerged?
Obviously, the NMDC continues to remain as a supplier to the steel plant. There are another two deposits, deposit 13 and deposit 4, which have been specifically identified as iron ore deposits that are there for the steel plant. Otherwise, but those are still yet to come online. And supply as and when steel plant comes up.
So the iron ore mining resource will remain.
If I may add, just a minute, to what CMD said, and to your question, deposit 13 and deposit 4 are linked to the the steel plant, but they are not captive to the steel plant. They are just the linked one. These are merchant mines, but not captive mines. That has to be. I believe your question was whether any captive mines are there for the steel plant, and whether any mines will move to the demerged company of the steel plant. No, that's not going to happen. The steel plant will be a plant with the company without any iron ore mines.
So basically, it would be an arm's length transaction.
Absolutely. It will be an arm's length transaction and arm's length pricing. Yes.
Sure. My second question, since the board has already approved it, and this is a large project, you would be spending 20,000 crores and steel ramps up in stages. So how would that new company fund its losses in the initial stage? Is there any game plan for that, a cash transfer, or what would be the kind of arrangement? Because the steel plant in the company or iron ore mining operations are very profitable, so it would have funded the initial losses or whatever future capex. If you create a new company, how that problem gets solved?
We are committed to the steel plant. That is there. I mean, we are committed to the commissioning of the steel plant and running it. So that part is commitment of NMDC still remains. I think DF, you can take that question on how much.
I'll just let you know. You see, we have spent 17,000 crores from our equity. So that's our equity contribution. Going further, we'll leverage the steel plant. Okay? So the leveraging would be enough to see the initial cash requirements of the steel plant. So that is the initial plan. I do not think that the NMDC will have to fund it from its own sources. The initial plan right now is, as and when it is demerged, we'll also leverage it adequately. Not only because to make it in tune with the TEFR, which envisages a leverage of around 40%, maybe not to that extent. But once we leverage, I think the new company will have enough cash to not only complete its capex, what is required, but also have adequate cash reserves to and working capital to ensure that the initial operations are carried on smoothly.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Chheda. I'll request you to come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. Next question is from Kamlesh Sen from Prabhudas Lilladher. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Thanks for the opportunity, sir. Sir, one question on that steel plant demerger. So this has been on EOI for like the last 4.5 years. So what has what necessitated this demerger process and creating a mirror image and all those things when when we are planning to divest, it could have been done easily through standalone operations or the current status as well. So what was the need to have the demerger? Is the buyer ready to have this for this particular plant? Because for last 4.5 years we have not been able to get any interest for the plant.
No, the point is we have never looked at disinvestment per se in the past. So that is something which we will going forward. The decision of the government will be a decision which the government is going to take whether to disinvest. Otherwise, technically we are a mining company. Our core focus is mining. So to that extent, like the Director of Finance has said, we need to leverage the steel plant. So to that extent, I think that is the idea was to demerge it. But otherwise, disinvestment will be a decision which will have to be taken by the government of India. Because yes, you can add.
Yes, but pretty contrasting. On one hand, we are selling a plant where we have spent such a huge amount in Chhattisgarh, and on other hand, like say 2 years back, we bought a land parcel or say land in Karnataka of around 660 crore to put up a steel plant. On one reason we are selling, and another reason we are buying land for putting up a steel plant. So really, not a decision.
No, I agree. The decision to buy land in Karnataka was taken a couple of years back. So that was with an intention to, that was not a decision which was recently taken. It was for a couple of years back where we wanted to enter into some sort of a SPV arrangement, get land and electricity requirement, and then request for a mine in Karnataka from the government, and then get into a joint venture arrangement with some sort of with any partner. So that was the arrangement in Karnataka, which has not gone through at this point of time. In case of Nagarnar, we will take a call on disinvestment. The government will take a call on that. So to that extent, I think these are two different issues. I mean, the Karnataka land thing is a thing of the past, and that was something which we had done earlier. Nagarnar steel plant is something which we would like to commission immediately, and that's our first primary target at the moment. And then we'll look at disinvestment at some point of time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jain, I'll request you to come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. Next question is from Prashant Kumar from CGS-CIMB. Please go ahead.
Sir, what would be the natural market for the Nagarnar steel plant's products on the domestic side as well as on the export side? What is the natural domestic market and export side?
If you look at the steel markets and the segment we are in, the flat product segment, the natural markets are the western markets and the pipe making sector in the north. So even south is also doing quite well. So to that extent, the southern market is something which is more accessible to us, and we will service that market. Our logistics will be moving material from Visakhapatnam, move it to Vizag, and then moving it down to the waterway to the sea, down to the western markets. So that these are basically the west and the southern markets will be the major markets. And then obviously we have HR coil commodity, which has always been exported. It has a good market for exports also, especially the Southeast Asian markets. So we should be able to. That should not be a major issue in looking at the marketing part.
Hello.
Yes, please.
The nearest port will be Vizag, sir?
Yeah, the nearest port, yes, the nearest port will be Vizag. We'll have to move it down to Visakhapatnam, and from there either export it or move it to the Western markets or Southern markets as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you. My next question is on, sir, at the current spot prices of iron ore, international iron ore prices, our exports will be significantly profitable, as in even after adjusting for the freight and the export duties, etc. So are we ramping up the exports, and what is the plan there?
Yes, your first question, yes, they are. The export is definitely profitable. On the other part is which NMDC does is guided by the FTA arrangement which we will have with Japan and South Korea, and we have a limited amount of exports which we do, less than 10% of our. We intend to keep it at that level only, and basically service the domestic market, service our domestic customers.
So the FTA requirement is only the minimum requirement. So there's no stopping us beyond that to, let's say, China or some other region. Am I right or wrong?
No, we have limited our exports only to Japan and South Korea, since we have a long-term arrangement with them, and that is how it remains. We are not looking at any other country.
This arrangement with Japan and South Korea is on a concessional duty of 10%. Normal for high grade Fe is 30%. At 30%, even at current international rates, it does not make an economic sense to export to any other country, because this is a concessional rate, and because the quantity is the ceiling is between 2.5 to 3 million ton. So that is what the exports are. That is why it is restricted to that tier. At 30%, if we export to China or any other place, it will attract a 30% duty, and it will not be profitable for an MDC to do so.
Even if it was, also I would like to add, even if it was, we are not intending to do any exports at this point of time. Very high grade ore which we export 64 plus to these countries. And then that is because of an arrangement which we have with the government and these countries, and at a concessional duty. Even if the export was viable, it is not at the moment. We are not getting into that business.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Kumar. I'll request you to come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. Next question is from Anuj from Bank of America. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. So first question regarding, again, we have been investing a lot of money in the steel plant, and it's been a significant part of our capex guidance as well. So with steel plant now being demerged, what kind of capex on an ongoing basis we can see in the maintenance and on the growth projects going forward?
Yes, Mr. Mukherjee will answer.
I'll give you the numbers. This year our capex target is 1,860 crores, of which Nagarnar is 1,860 crores. Yep. We are confident of making it, although in Q1 we were very short of our target, less than 50% of our target. But in Q2 and Q3 we will definitely make it up, and Q4 by the end of the financial year we'll be able to do 1,860 crores of total capex, of which around 1,400 crores is for Nagarnar. So we are confident that once this commissioning activities begin, and we have to make the commissioning payments, so we are confident that we will do 1,860 crores, including 1,400 crores of Nagarnar.
So, Mr. Mukherjee, then once the steel plant is demerged, it's fair to assume that post that the sustainable capex for us will be around 400-500 crores only on an ongoing basis? Is that a
no? By that time, the slurry pipeline will come. For the next 2-3 years, the slurry pipeline will come. That is around 3,000 crores. So that should cost us at least 1,000 crores a year for the next 3-4 years.
Okay. And then we have a screening plant also, I think.
And then there is one big screening plant. There is one screening plant 3, which the expenditure will start next financial year. So that is about 1,000 crores. So we will have a sustainable capex of around anything between 1,500 crores to 2,000 crores for the next 2-3 years.
So even if I look at that number, I think we will have significant free cash flow generation. So can we see a pickup in the dividend payout ratios post the demerger of steel plant?
We will take a call on that when we have that's the prerogative of the board. Yes, we are one of the highest dividend paying companies in a country. Our dividend payout ratio is one of the best. Dividend yield is one of the best in PSUs also. And
Right.
But that's the board's prerogative, so let's wait for the board to take a call when we talk
Fair
about
enough.
it.
Fair enough, sir. So lastly, if I may, the recent NCD issuance, 524 crores, sir, if you can just, clarify what has been, why the money has been raised for and where it's going to be invested, that will be great. Thank you.
It's for Nagarnar.
Okay, it's going to get transferred along with the
This is the first
demerger.
phase of leveraging of Nagarnar. As we said,
Okay.
we plan to leverage NISP. This is the first one of leveraging Nagarnar.
Understood. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Pinakin Parekh from JP Morgan Chase and Company. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So my first question on the demerger is that the company has spent 17,000 crores so far, and the eventual project cost will be over 20,000 crores. So is it fair to say that the remaining 3,000 crore plus would be spent by the demerged entity, or would NMDC incur all the project costs and then the demerger will take place?
We have taken that one question.
Okay. Both, you see, demerger, as the CMD said, is anything between a 6 to 9 months process. And we plan to commission it also in around 9 months. So these both will sort of get dovetailed. The commissioning and the demerger would be, it's planned to be dovetailed. As and when it is commissioned, it will be commissioned in a new company. So it will almost sort of match to each other.
Understood. And so
whatever expenditure is that we'll have to do, and then we'll have to transfer the rest of the loan amount that we take from the market, because now, as we've seen, we have already started leveraging it. So but the rest of the expenditure would be through the loan route or the.
And sir, my second question is that in the next 8 to 9 months, the CWIP value would have gone from 17 to 19-20,000 crores. So in the demerged entity, there will be 20,000 crore on the asset side. What will be the loans that will be transferred, sir? Is it 10%, 20%? The remaining would be equity. But basically, over the next 10 months, how much does NMDC plan to take on debt in the current entity and then transfer that to the demerged entity?
We are initially planning anything around 4,000 to 5,000 crores of debt initially. Although the TEFR says 40%, so that should be around 8,000 crores. But I think right now the initial decision is to leverage it up to the level of 5,000 crores in phases, not in one shot, in small phases.
So it's fair to assume, sir, that over the next 12 months, NMDC's post-demerger, NMDC's cash balance should go up by 5,000 crores, because that debt which has been raised would need to be paid by the Steel Co.
More or less.
Technically, yes.
Yes, that of course is right. And some of it will also be spent on the capex of it. No?
Understood.
Now,
yes.
Let us say 500 crores I have taken now. So that will go to the capex of steel plant anyway. So my equity would be frozen here, 17,000 crores, or even, and if some debt is recouped, then it will actually come down.
Understood. Thank you. Understood. This is very clear, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Ajay Sharma from Maybank. Please go ahead.
I want to check on the pipeline. Can you...
sorry to interrupt you. Your voice is breaking terribly. Can you please comment about the reception area?
Hello?
Go ahead.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
I want to ask about the pipeline. Can you explain the rationale for that, and what's the return on the investment of this 3,000 crore capex which you're planning to do?
So this slurry pipeline comes with a slurry pipeline, and there's a pellet plant of 2 million tons. So actually, this is in phase 1. So the phase 2 is then extend the pipeline from Jagdalpur to Vizag, which is a natural thing. The 2 million tons, part of it we will utilize in the steel plant, and the other is going to be commercially sold in the market to the sponge iron people in Raipur or Chhattisgarh. So, with regard to the return on investment, DF, you have any idea what is the number?
This pipeline is a highly profitable venture. It has a ROI of more than 24%, if I recollect correctly, because the difference in cost of transportation is to the tune of around 40%. If I transport it through rail, and if I transport it through rail and transport it through this way, the difference is around 400. 1200 is rail and 400 is slurry pipeline. And if you add beneficiation cost, etc., then it should give a benefit of around 300 to 400 per ton of transport. So that way it's a very highly profitable project.
The other thing is that in the Baladila sector, as we proceed to ramp up our production to the levels which we are expecting, so this would be another option for us to evacuate the material, since the sector has we are totally depending on the railway line. Obviously, the doubling of the track is also taking place, but then this would be another option of evacuating the material. So it is going to be a very good business for us at NMDC.
And sorry, how many millions can you transport using the pipeline?
The pipeline is 15 million tons. The entire project is 15 million tons. Obviously, right now we are doing only the 2 million tons up to Jagdalpur. The balance 13 when we have the phase 2 also operational.
And the 1,000 crore includes the phase 2 as well?
No, this is only the phase 1.
Thank you very much. I'll request you to come back in the question queue, Mr. Sharma. Next participant is Ashish Kejriwal from IDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, question is on Donimalai mines only, because we have been in discussion with state government for so long. So I'm not sure whether, after doing all changes in the rules also, state government is not finding enough reason to give us it. So what is the actual status, or what does they want and what does we want, how it is going to be solved? One. And secondly, in terms of Kumaraswamy mines also, because there was a proposal to increase capacity from 7 to 10 million ton. What's the status on that? And is there any reason to believe that we will be successful in renewing the Kumaraswamy mines, which is due in October 2022?
So with the first question, we are in discussions. The government is the central government, the state governments are also. We are engaging with the state government. They have some issues. Hopefully, we will be able to address those issues, and we think that we can come to a decision very quickly, very soon on this. Regarding Kumaraswamy mine, 7 to 10, we already are doing 7. The additional 10, probably in a couple of months. I think we're looking at 3 to 4 months period. The 10 million tons also should the clearance should come. And once we settle with Donimalai mines, I do not think the Kumaraswamy extension in 22 should be an issue.
Okay. And so secondly on KK line, because we have been seeing that in Chhattisgarh for the last few years we are unable to ramp up the volumes. It's ranging between 23 and 24 million ton. So do we think that that volume is going to increase in next 2 years also with KK line coming in?
Definitely.
How much?
Definitely. So what happens with KK line right now? The capacity is 28. So we would be increasing that once the doubling takes place. So it would go up to 40 million tons. The first phase of we are in fact up to Jagdalpur we are funding that project. So the balance also in fact railways are in a quite advanced stage in the from Jagdalpur to Vizag. So I think we should be able to do 40 million tons. So that will help us in evacuating the extra production which we intend to do.
But when can we expect this? Because it has been going for last 5-7 years.
So 60-70% of the work in the first phase, that's up to Jagdalpur, is already over. the railways have told us another couple of years. So most of the stretches are done. So only there are small stretches which are since there are a lot of LWE activity. So that is why there is the contractors are not able to complete the work. We are pursuing with railways, and we think that it should be completed very soon.
So, sir, can we expect any incremental volume to come in FY22 on account of this?
On account of the, of course, this is one of the evacuation routes. Though our thing is we are looking at 32 million tons in this financial year. That's what we intend to do. So there's no incremental increase we are looking at right now.
Okay, sir. Fair enough.
32 is what we intend to do.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Satyadeep Jain from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hello, can
Go
you
ahead, sir. You're audible.
Yes, hi. Thank you. Just a couple of questions. One is on the tax rate. What are the tax losses that Nagarnar would take with it to the new entity? And also with the corporate tax reform, I understand new manufacturing companies get certain tax advantage of 15% and 17% including surcharge. Now there is a lacuna in that spin-off and restructuring is not included. But just wanted to see from a tax angle, do you get concessional tax rate on manufacturing once you demerge entities form? Secondly, Mr. Dev, this demerger has been talked about for a while. Is this something after you took over, this intensity of discussions on this picked up? And there is a lot of opposition in the local community, within the government, state government. Have you had any constructive discussions on this with the community on this demerged entity?
On the subject of opposition with regard, specifically per se with regard to demerger, I would not think so. Obviously, there is an apprehension with regard going forward, probably whether it is going to be disinvested. So that is a call which the government of India has to take, will take. So that is something which I cannot really preempt or say anything on.
And on the tax front,
Mr. Mukherjee, you can answer that question.
You are asking about, can you repeat the question on the specific thing of tax? I couldn't get you clearly, please.
Any tax losses that the plant would be taking to the new entity, and also as this is a demerged entity, does this qualify as a new manufacturing entity and therefore a concessional tax rate going forward?
No, I don't think there will be a concessional tax rate on this one, but all the benefits of Senvad, the GST credits will all flow, so there will be no that way tax losses. But I don't think any concessional tax regime will be applicable to the new entity.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Ritesh Shah from Investec. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, my first question is, what is the status of deposit 15 and deposit 3, the two deposits which are linked to the steel plant? And if the steel plant has to be fed on iron ore, how will we feed the steel plant and by what route? Is it by road or is it like the rail line? How should we understand it? So that's the first question.
Both deposit 13 and deposit 4 are a joint venture with the state government. So, but they are not specifically, like DS has earlier mentioned, it is not specifically, it's not a captive mine for the steel plant. So that is there. The other thing is with regard to supplies to the steel plant, it will be mostly by rail from our existing mines in Batheli and Kirandul. So we'll be supplying mostly by rail. And as and when the pellet plant comes up, a slurry pipeline and then pellet and then can be utilized in the steel plant.
So would it be possible if you could give some color on how many rakes you will load at Kirandul right now, and given I'm assuming 3 million ton steel plant will require around say 5 million tons of lump plus fine together. Does it stack up on the rate that we have currently at Kirandul? As with some details over here, that will be very useful.
So currently we can do up to 15, on an average 15 rakes. We have done even 17, 18 and rakes also. So, and this is in our, we have already considered the supplies to the steel plant also. That's within our, whatever we want to supply, which can be, it is possible. The railways have also assured us of rake supply, and we are capable of loading. We are doing some modifications in our loading plant at Kirandul and Bacheli also to enhance loading. So that should fall in line as and when the steel plant comes up. So we are, in fact, it is in line with our target for increasing production and loading also, and simultaneously supply of rakes from railways.
Right. And what is the status specifically on the KK line? There are different blocks over there: Kirandul to Gidam, Tirupuri, Nagarnar, Ambagaon. Can you highlight specifically any particular stretch where we are facing right now a problem, or is it like everything is going to be fine in March? Is that how one should look at it?
So the section from Kirandul to Gidam, yeah, that section probably, I think, is very severely affected because the contractors are not available. The railways are not able to get contractors because of this LWE activity. But however, in our latest discussion with the railways, they have said and they have assured us that their work will work will be completed since they have got hold of some people. So it should not be an issue at this point of time. As far as as far as our latest discussions with the railways.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Rahul Jain from Systematics Group. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello sir. Thank you for taking my call. So one thing, so firstly on pricing, sir, as we see, iron ore has gone up quite substantially, in international markets, and we are still below the levels what we were in January when international prices were 100, whereas today they are at around 125, 130. So do we see a swift catch up in coming months?
In the month of April, April, March, April, there was this COVID because of this pandemic. We had issues with regard to supplies. Most of the steel plants were down, and in fact our projects were also partly affected. So to that extent, we had rationalized our prices. So we had brought the prices were brought down by in phases by around 800-900 rupees. However, going forward, we have also now with the pickup in the market and the domestic demand going up, we have increased our prices, and our visibility is the markets are going to be better, and we hope that we'll be able to get better realizations. Prices should be better in the coming days.
Right. And so secondly, how should we look at your Chhattisgarh operations? So somebody like us also asked this question. So we had about 24 million. So over 3 years, once you will also be sort of less occupied with the steel plant, can we see it going above 30 or 35 million over 3 years? I mean, is that the plan, or because we've been hearing big plans for quite some time now?
No, definitely. 35 is in the near future only, probably something which we intend doing in the very near in the future, and then going up at least to our EC, hitting our EC capacities as quickly as possible.
So how much is our EC capacity?
I think it's 29, DF. It's 29 in the Baladila sector.
What?
EC capacity. How much is the question is how much is the EC capacity in the Baladila sector? The total EC is 51.8. That is
51 minus 14. That
51 minus 14.
37. Around 35, 37.
35.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Sumangal from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And firstly, congratulations to Sumit sir for the new role, and thanks for arranging this conference call. So first question is with respect to the steel plant again. Sorry to harp on this. is it possible to share your thoughts on the practical difficulties in divesting the plant? Because there's been a lot of protests today itself. We read that the Chief Minister has written a letter to PM. In the past, there has been labor union protests, and there are also issues of transferring the land rights in case the plant ownership changes. So, given that it's an extremely sensitive area in terms of noise, etc., any thoughts on the practicality of divestment?
The decision for disinvestment will be taken by the government of India as and when it comes. As and when it comes up. So that is one thing which is there. Regarding the opposition and the land issues, obviously the state government will have to be involved with regard to disinvestment. This has to happen, and without clearance, without the state government's clearance or their participation, the land will be transferring of the land is an issue. So anyway, we will be in a discussion with them as and when the decision for disinvestment takes place.
Understood. Also, continuing on this steel plant, is it possible to share some details when we say that our plant commissioning is 9 months away? What's the status of equipment installation, trial production, raw material tenders? Because when we talk to the industry checks, we hear that the plant commercial production is at least 2 years away. And whereas our guidance, even in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of delays, and every year there's been delay in terms of guidance as well. So, any details possible in terms of our confidence level?
No, we are confident that we will be able to commission in FY21. So that is something 9 months away. That's the right thing to say. We're looking at a 9 month period, and most of the equipment and the plant is almost 90-95% complete. Some issues, as mentioned earlier, there are some issues with regard to some packages which there were some delays. Those issues have been sorted out, and hopefully we should be able to hit the target of commissioning the plant by say around June, July.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Amit Murarka from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Just on the debt that you propose to transfer to the steel plant, will this debt be raised in the name of the steel entity, or how will it be done?
Yes.
Right now the entity does not exist, so we cannot raise debt in the name of that entity. We are raising on the name of NMDC with a clear clause. In the event there is a demerger, we will transfer it to the new entity without recourse to the lender. And we have given other clauses. If there are clauses that if the rating of the new company is lower than the rating of NMDC, then the rates would go up accordingly. There's a particular rate that has been given. That's what for each downward notch in rating, how much it will go up. But that has been clearly mentioned in the offer letters that the debt, if and when this is complete, demerger, the debt would be transferred to the new entity, because this is being, as I said earlier also, that this debt is being taken for leveraging the Nagarnar Steel Plant. And in fact, interest on this debt would also be capitalized as IDC, as interest during construction period.
So the lenders will not have any say in the demerger process then?
No, but we are very clear on that. That is why we are paying a premium right now. We don't mind paying the premium, but otherwise I could have, in my own name, I could have taken it at a much lower rate.
Sure.
So we are very clear on this, in fact, and already NMDC has spent around 16,000 crores. So the debt which we are picking up is not a very huge amount which we are picking up, and we are very clear on that that the debt will be passed on, like Mr. Mukherjee has mentioned.
Got it.
The basic idea, if I may add, what CMD has said, that we have decided to freeze our equity participation in the Nagarnar steel plant further.
Yeah, which will be the capex done so far, roughly, let's say 7,000 crores.
Yeah, so far, and maybe it will be recouped a little bit more. So it could actually come down. Our equity might actually come down a little bit.
Okay. And just as a standalone steel plant without any captive iron ore, how do you think the plant will compete with, let's say, the private players which are out there? What do you think are the advantages that this plant will have?
Obviously, the proximity to raw material is one of the biggest advantages this plant has. And even if you look at the other raw material, coking coal and other material which will come in, imported material, it will come in through the Vizag port. So logistically, it is well placed. There's no issue on that. And then even the exit evacuation is also through the KK line to Vizag. So it should not be an issue in terms of it's well placed with regard to raw material or evacuation of finished goods.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Anuj Singla from Bank of America. Please go ahead.
For the opportunity again, sir. Sir, one basic question. So when we say that the steel plant is going to be demerged and we have a timeline of around 9 to 10 months, will this also imply this will be a listed entity at that point of time and replicating the shareholding that we have, or it will be unlisted entity and which will replicate the shareholding pattern that we have at present?
Yes, you can take the question.
Yeah, I understand. It will be obviously it will be a mirror holding. The shareholding pattern would be exactly the same as NMDC, but we'll get it listed. The idea is to get it listed as of now.
And so the timeline for listing is also that 9 to 10 months which you mentioned.
Yes, but ideally it would be listed. Okay. That's how our investors would also like it.
Yes, absolutely, sir. So that is why I was asking. And secondly, sir, is there any ministry approvals required given that we have got the board approval? Any more approvals from the government, center government as well, which are required before we start the process?
Is a process of demerger? Please answer the question. Yes.
Yeah, you see, the demerger process is it has around 59 or 60 steps. That does include getting a lot of regular approvals from regulators like SEBI, from the government, from the ministry, from the major shareholders, which is Government of India. So there are a lot of approvals, formal approvals that are required from various sources, including the government, including the stock exchanges, including the SEBI, including even competition, I believe the competition year of India. And all those things will have to be taken. A scheme of demerger will have to be made. And as a process, what happens is first that the assets are transferred to a wholly owned subsidiary, which we already have. We already have a wholly owned subsidiary. And once those assets transfer is complete and the registration fees and all those paid, stamp duties paid, then what happens is that NMDC's shareholding is cancelled and new shares in the name of the existing shareholders, including Government of India, LIC, banks, financial institutions, and retail shareholders are issued new shares. So this is why this process takes around 8 to 9 months. It also requires an approval of NCLT, I'm told. So it's a long process.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Reena Shah from Ashika Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, basically what I understood is in Kirandul and Bacheli together you have a EC limit of 35 to 37 million tons, and in next 3 to 4 months you will get even Kumaraswamy EC limit of 10 million tons. So am I correct on this?
Yes, the Kumaraswamy lease from 7 to 10 is also in the process.
Okay, so basically in FY22 you're leaving Donamalai aside, your overall EC capacity would be at least 45 million tons. So any production improvement target that you have right now in mind for FY22? Because what I understand is in this year, had it not been a COVID impacted year, your target was much more higher than what normal production growth rate was. So do you see any major production growth coming up in FY22?
Not exactly. See, our target was to do 35 million tons. So because of this COVID issue, we might have to really look at that, revisit that target. But otherwise, we believe that we are on line to increase the production to 50. I mean, going forward, probably we'll to 50 million tons. That's our target in the next 3-4 years. So that's about the production part.
Because what we heard earlier in Q4 that NMDC was targeting some 40-45 million tons of production in FY21.
It was originally 48, including
yes.
Doni Malai, so 41 without Doni Malai.
Yes. So that kind of target now you don't have for FY22?
No, that's exactly what CMD said. It is 50 including Doni Malai. So if you reduce 7 from Doni Malai, so it is 41 to 43 including Doni Malai. That's exactly what CMD said right now.
So FY22 we can expect 40 million tons plus production from NMDC, right?
Maybe not in FY22, but that's what CMD said right now. That's the plan in the next 2 to 3 years.
Thank you very much. Next participant is Vikas Singh from Phillip Capital. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Hello?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes. Sir, I just want to understand one thing. This coking coal block, we have got in the name of steel plant or is in NMDC and we have to transfer it, or this is automatically used as a captive and would be transferred in the demerged entity?
No, it is not a captive entity. It will be mined and production. It will be under NMDC only. So it's got nothing to do with the steel plant.
Okay, so in that case also, once we be able to run that mine, it would be arm's length basis transaction with the steel plant. Is that a correct assumption?
Absolutely.
And secondly, sir, in terms of this increasing of your capacity as well as the sales volume, just wanted to understand how are you planning to displace, the quantity which would be lost in future to JSW or the Arcelor Nippon, basically.
So we have
these two are
we have the steel plant, and then there's the RINL also Vizag steel plant, which is not running to full capacity. So we are covered to that extent. So that is not a major issue. We think that we'll be able to. The additional the quantities which probably will be JSW might, but see, if you look at JSW, the additional capacity. The additional capacity is probably, if you're looking at, is from Odisha. So it has, so to that extent, I think we should be able to. There is no issue on disposing of the additional quantity probably once JSW is switching over to its captive mines. We don't see any issue.
So it would be safe to assume that we would be able to, take some of the market share which was previously owned by the Odisha merchants there, because these guys have lost their mines. So some of their customers would switch to us.
No, not really. The Odisha market is servicing a different segment. Probably only JSW is there. So not really. Not really. We have our own customer base here in the Chhattisgarh or in the south. So I don't think we should have any issue. We don't have any relation to Odisha customers because we don't service any of their requirements.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Ayush Agarwal from Metal Analytics. Please go ahead.
Sir, I would like to understand how are we protecting ourselves against the political intervention that we have seen in the past time and again, and it has caused a great deal of trouble to us. So just trying to understand that
with all the mining leads that happened recently with the Odisha, and right now we are not paying any premium, and we are supposed to service our customers without any premium, so that the state government norms are there. So, like, how are we protecting ourselves against the political interventions going ahead, because that's a key risk?
There's not really too much of an intervention, only in terms of policies which the central government makes, and the implementation is done at the state level. So, I mean, with the clarifications coming up by the central government clarifying a lot of issues. So, as and when they are cropping up, probably that is the difference in opinion. It's a matter of difference in opinion. Otherwise, we don't have too much of a interference. And whatever is there, we will resolve them. That's not a issue which we feel is which is very critical.
Right. And so my second question is, since we have seen that a lot of the big players have taken captive mines, and we get a huge chunk of our revenues from two major players, how do we see that risk going ahead?
So, like I mentioned earlier, with the steel plant at Nagarnar, additional capacity is available with RINL, which RINL is not RINL is operating at almost 50% of the capacity. So I don't think that there is a major issue with regard to the disposal or sales of material.
So won't it impact our profitability in the sense that
once you are able to take care of that additional volume price, probably like you are saying, you are anticipating that probably these major customers would switch off supplies from NMDC, which is not really the case. I mean, if you really look at it, customers switching over to their own captive mines, captive mines do take time to ramp up also. It's not done in a day or two. So they also take time. And there are other various issues in the mines also. So to that extent, I do not think there's going to be any. We do not anticipate any major disruptions in supplies there.
Thank you very much. A request to all the participants, please restrict to one question per participant. Next question is from Anupam Gupta from India Infoline. Please go ahead.
Firstly, on the RINL issue which you mentioned, so if you see last year your receivables had gone up meaningfully from RINL, what is the status now, and how do you see that recovering fully?
So we are in discussion with them. We are talking to them, and with the markets looking up, hopefully we should be able to liquidate the outstandings. I mean, right now the markets are doing well, and they are into their margins have improved, their sales have improved. They are exporting also, so very well located also at the port. So we do not see any major issue in liquidating the outstanding.
Have you seen any improvement since March 20?
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. There has been a substantial improvement, and we are talking to them, and I think we should be able to handle that.
Okay. And second, how soon can you ramp up the Kumaraswamy after the EC comes in?
No, immediately. I mean, we have our people there. You're talking of Donimalai. So
no, Kumaraswamy, I'm saying.
Kumaraswamy, 7 to 10. You're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's not an issue. We have sufficient manpower and equipment, and we have a raising contract also there. We should be able to handle that. That's not an issue.
Okay.
We're in a position to do it immediately.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Amit Dixit from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Sir, thanks for taking my question again. This is with respect to the contingent liability in our balance sheet with respect to the pending demand letter from District Collectorate of Dantewada. We have paid 600 crores under protest. So I thought that everything was clear, but still the contingent liability is existing. Does this imply that we will end up paying more? I understand the matter is sub judice, but still, do you expect more payments in this regard?
No, I do not think. We are talking to them, and we have been told our legal stand is that we are not liable to pay. So we are talking to them, and I do not anticipate any further liability. Mr. Mukherjee can add to that.
Yeah, this comes from the common cause judgment. Normally, we are on very strong wicket on this. But the problem was that the Ministry of Mines had in 2-3 years back issued a letter saying that the common cause judgment needs to be paid for mine renewal. And so there was a log jam, so we had to pay something to get the mines renewed, because otherwise it would have violated the Ministry of Mines order. So naturally we paid about 600 crores, and then we went to the court. And normally our stand is very clear. The best of legal advices that we have got tell us that it is not, the 600 crores is not payable for us. Something had to be paid to comply with the requirement of the Ministry of Mines that a common cause judgment needs to be paid for renewal. So it was that way paid.
Okay. The second question.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Please come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. Next question is from Amit Murarka from Motilal Oswal.
I think it's 4:45 already. We have other
I need to catch a flight. I have to catch a flight.
He needs to catch up a flight, and I have another meeting scheduled at 4:45, so we'd like to keep it now short.
Next question is from the line of Amit Murarka. Please go ahead.
Just one small question on P&L. So the royalty rate as a percentage of revenue seems to have increased a lot this quarter. So could you help me understand why would that be?
Royalty rate as a percentage of revenue?
Yeah, in the royalty in the cost line item as a percentage of revenue.
कितना है royalty as a Q1 का दिखाओ? नहीं the list itemized list जो है हाँ this one कितना है ये Q1 वाला का? It's not. Have you paid any areas? Royalty paid is how much? In Q1 is 421 crores. Royalty and cess.
Yeah, it is coming to about 30% of revenue.
Iron ore sales is 30%. The iron ore sales is 1923 crores. So that comes to around 20%. Q1.
Okay, maybe I'm mistaken. I'll just take it offline then.
Iron ore sale is 1923 crores and royalty and cess payment is 421 crores. So that's about 21 point something percent. So that's okay.
Thank you very much.
You might be. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I will now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
DS, you can make the closing comment as to the airport.
Oh, sure. I'd like to thank the CMD because he could take some time out to participate here. And in any case, we are always available to you for a one-to-one call and others, and we'd like to clarify any further questions that we have on a one-to-one basis. And all I can say is that, well, F1 has not been very good, but we do hope that F2 would be much better. The production and the sales have already shown substantial increase. In fact, June and July, year on year, we have done better than last year. So that is something very good. We have taken 3 price hikes, and we are almost at pre-COVID levels right now. So even on the price front, things have started looking up. Quantity front, as I said, it's already established that we are doing much well. So we hope that the blues of Q1 would be wiped clean in Q2 and Q3, and by Q4 will, as the CMD said, will be able to touch or even maybe exceed last year's production and sale, which in itself is a very big achievement given the impact of COVID. So thank you so much.